We have some FOMO engaged with bulls, patient bulls being left in the dust with the bounce over the last few days in Bitcoin. We had Ethereum playing a little laggard catch up over the last 24 hours. Some altcoins having a nice move today. Is it time to all in? Is the question. I'm going to talk a little bit about my positioning, what I'm doing, but and focus on what time frame is most important in the short term. So getting to the charts, we have Bitcoin with a weekly bull flag on the table. At this point, it's a textbook weekly bull flag. And the simple statement is if 100,000 is support, then we are going to see all-time highs. So that's now the line in the sand. And why I say that patient bulls are being left in the dust is because the way that this shaped up, we have the daily downtrend confirming, we have a lower high and lower low, and then from that point, patient bulls don't get an entry. The only longs that got an entry were the aggressive bulls that were buying in 4-hour oversold conditions when the hourly was beat up back on Thursday, or bulls that took an aggressive stance from there. Because we pretty much just went straight up with very minimal consolidation. The 4-hour time frame hardly pulled back on this move of a 10% bounce over the last few days. So I was looking for grabbing more exposure in crypto, knowing a weekly higher low is the most likely scenario. So we knew to be scouting the weekly higher low. It just happened extremely quickly. What a patient bull would have been hoping for would have been, slow down at 106 resistance zone, give the higher low entry opportunity, and then see the trend change. But we don't always get what we want. So what we have now is our very clear resistance zone up at these highs, the only resistance, 110 to 112, the all-time high, and we are pulling back a bit right now, and we have a lot of space for a daily higher low to be the result of this current consolidation. We haven't confirmed a daily uptrend yet, which is the next check mark for the bulls, but you need to determine what time frame is most important to you. Aggressive bulls right now are looking at the 4-hour, and they're looking for 4-hour EMA 12 support to try and hold, and they're watching for 15-minute oversold conditions to try and mark the 4-hour higher low. So that's the most aggressive bulls right now. The second most aggressive bulls would be looking at the 12-hour chart and saying, all right, I'm scouting a 12-hour higher low entry and using that time frame. The more patient bull, which has been left in the dust, is using the daily to scout a daily higher low. Personally, I'll be on the daily time frame, and a lot of that, again, has to do with my current exposure. Even though I didn't get to add on this last week pullback, my long-term no-touch positions, again, I call them my anti-FOMO positions, and for good reason, because you see this 10% move up. If I have no crypto exposure, I am bummed with that, and I'm chasing, and oh no, I hope we don't go to all-time highs. I'm missing it. I missed my opportunity. My mindset with my anti-FOMO long-term no-touch position is, all right, I would have liked to have added more, but my net worth is a good bit higher than it was 4 days ago. So I'm still happy that it is going up, which is a very different spot psychological to be in. And just with regards, when you're determining aggressive or conservative, and I use those terms a lot. Are you an aggressive bull or a patient bull? Are you an aggressive bear or a patient bear? It can be determined by time frame, which I just talked about. If you're aggressive, you're on the 4-hour. If you're patient, you're on the daily. But it also can be determined by position size. If you're conservative, you're using a smaller than normal position size for you. And if you're aggressive, you're using larger. So those are the two factors which can help determine aggressive or conservative. And for me, anytime I increase my exposure right now, it instantly turns me into aggressive. So even if I'm going to wait for a daily higher low, if I add anything, it makes me aggressive. And that's just because of the amount of net worth that I already have in crypto, where, again, essentially, just to give you a comparison, I'm not going to give you exact numbers, but I have a standard amount of my day trading, what I try and make in a month with my day trading and my most often my stock account. And the move over the last 4 days would be like a solid 6 weeks of day trading gains for me. So it's a pretty significant fluctuation, and I've had to get really used to riding that up and down. I mean, I rode these positions through 2 bear markets from 2017 onward. So I've gotten used to it. But again, anytime I add to that and increase the crypto exposure, it instantly turns me into aggressive. So I'm open to it. But at this point, I got to wait for a daily high or low if I'm going to add anything. And it would be swing mindset. Ideally, I'd be looking, I don't want to use 100,000 as a stop anymore. That's too far away. If I buy it 107, I don't want to risk 7% before I stop out. So my mindset will be, if we get daily consolidation, my mindset will be, all right, I'm looking for a level where I say that's either the daily high or low or I'm wrong. And then we either head to all-time highs or we fail and roll over back towards 100,000 and I stop out with a much more manageable loss. So we're too far away from 100,000 for me to use that level. So I am going to be using a new level that just hasn't been established yet at this point. And again, if we don't get daily consolidation and we just head up to all-time highs, I'll be very slightly bummed that I didn't increase my position size, but I'll very quickly get over it because of the other exposure. So again, anti-FOMO position. NASDAQ. So the NASDAQ is grinding here. We got to be cautious of a rising wedge, but we are in an environment where rising wedges are not confirming. And I'm seeing it on a bunch of time frames and a bunch of instruments. So this is the potential NASDAQ 12-hour rising wedge. We want to be aware of it. It could confirm, absolutely. So we're paying attention. A key level in the S&P 500 is this 6,000 psychological level. It was resistance, and now we keep holding it as support. If you look at the hourly chart here, this is a key level for me because it was resistance, 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 and now it's support, support, and still holding. So I care about that. And we've been watching just some quick examples. Again, the rising wedges have high probability when they align with the most likely scenario on a longer term time frame. Bitcoin, you could have called this an hourly rising wedge. And I guess you could say technically it confirmed, just no real follow through. We had silver give us an hourly rising wedge recently that also broke bull. So again, it's a bullish overall market environment. I don't know if that's a bad drawing. There was one on silver. You'll have to trust me. But got to be just keeping an eye out. We're going to see volatility within the next few days here. The NASDAQ and the S&P 500 are going to either convincingly get another leg up to new bounce highs, or this rising wedge is going to confirm into a solid drop. If it confirms into a solid drop, it has to have solid volume behind it on SPY and QQQ. But again, this is definitely a top watch over the next few days for how does this resolve itself. Because you look at last 2 weeks of trading, really not much is going on at all here. There is some rotation going on under the hood into other sectors and things like that, but still a daily uptrend. So, crypto stocks, we've been watching rotation. In the last stream, I talked about potential rotation into the miners, which was getting our attention because Riot and Wolf and some of these other miners were confirming the first weekly uptrend in months, 6 months or so, and they had nice follow through. But what I'm seeing is, the question I want to know is, which is the best place to be long crypto in crypto stocks right now? And the answer is, it keeps changing. If you look at MSTR divided by Riot, let's go actually Riot divided by MSTR. If this is going up, the better place to be is Riot. So we could say over the last 7 days, it's been better to be in Riot than MSTR. That said, on a daily basis, last Wednesday, it was better to be in Riot. Then Thursday was better to be in MSTR. Friday, Riot. Yesterday, MSTR. Today, Riot. It does keep going back and forth if you're zoomed in. But again, the overall trend has been rotation into the stronger miners over the last week and a half. And so Wolf is the other one. Again, still up right near its highs after confirming the weekly uptrend. Other names like MARA, they're weaker. They have not confirmed the weekly bull break yet. IREN is another one that is a stronger side of things. So again, it's it was coin and MSTR leading the way in April and May, and I'm watching for the potential that it is the miners that are going to lead this next leg up. And so far, we're seeing that. It's not glaringly on an everyday basis, but when you're zoomed out a little bit, it is standing out. And just to give that in a different, terms of comparison, if we look at Riot here from the low of end of May, we're currently up 29%. And if you look at MSTR from that same day, we are at 8%. So that's a pretty glaring difference. So still watching those miners. Is it time for altcoins? We've heard this question 150 times. The dominance chart, what have I been saying forever? If we're setting weekly higher lows, it's not alt season. So the most important level for me, first it was here, then it was here, and now it's here. That's the most important level for me. If you're an altcoin bull, you want the dominance chart to enter weekly consolidation with a weekly lower high while Bitcoin holds strong. Again, if Bitcoin trades between 100 and 112 and goes sideways for a couple of weeks, that's not a bad thing. But ideally, it is coinciding with the dominance chart heading back to these lows, because that would mean Bitcoin's trading sideways and altcoins are getting a leg up. And we know that in prior cycles, many times, Bitcoin leads, and then once it finds a sideways range, it's time to focus on altcoins. And so yesterday, Bitcoin led with a big green day, and then it was time to focus on altcoins, where, if we just look at from this big candle at 5 p.m. yesterday, where Bitcoin topped out, we have ETH. Where were we? What's today? Tuesday. Monday at 5 p.m. was here. And so ETH, I guess everybody calls it ETH. Do I got to change my ways? I don't type ETH. I type ETH. From there, we got another 5.5% of follow through while Bitcoin traded sideways. So again, that's just a zoomed in mini version of exactly what bulls want to see on a longer term time frame type of play. So again, Bitcoin sideways on the hourly while ETH ran up. I need to do a vote, ETH or ETH. While ETH ran up another 5.5%. So again, it's a great example of it on the hourly chart. All bulls want to see it on daily and weekly time frames. What does stand out today is you look at the green list, 20%. It's not common we see an altcoin up 20% in a day these days. And so Uni is doing that, leading the way today, had a sideways range, break bull, highest level in 3 months. It's a great sign. Obviously, alt bulls all want their individual name at 3+ month highs. So we'll be watching for a 4-hour high or low here. It's just a short-term lead bull. The other lead bulls we've been watching, QNT. Actually, I got to backtrack. Didn't talk about ETH BTC. Got to see this break bull as well. So ETH has a daily resistance that we're rejecting from 2,800. Again, great laggard move yesterday, still running into resistance. No major red flags on an initial rejection. In an ideal world, we keep holding hourly EMA 12 as we've held it now 3 times. So that'd be a great sign if we can hold hourly EMA 12 and break 2,800 for a convincing new high. And you can see right behind it, it's actually 2,800 is not the main level we care about. Look at all these tops here. 28 to 28.60, we'll call it. So you can see all these rejections on the way down. Probably like 6 rejections there, and then back here as well. This is the level. Remember in previous streams pointing out how many times this range has come into play. This is the most important range on this long-term chart, in my opinion. And we're still battling it. Got to turn that back into support and start holding 2,800 as support. Again, just as I showed on the S&P 500 futures, 6,000, reject, 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 get over it, hold it, hold it, hold it. you got to see the same thing with this level, which is the most important level on this long-term chart over the last 2 years. And all that said, you've got to see ETH BTC get a bull break as well to fresh highs. Because if that happens, remember how many times we've seen these little one-off bounces, 1 week of big bull move, no continuation. Fail, roll over. Big bull move, try sideways, roll over. Big bull move, try sideways. Is this going to be the first time in years, first time in 2.5 years, that we get a big bull green candle on the weekly, sideways continuation? That will tell us something is significantly different for the first time in multiple years. So ETH bulls are on the edge of their seat because, you know, that GameStop meme where you're leaning in playing video games, that's what's going on right now. And of course, as I've said before, ETH is Big Daddy for the altcoins. And the analogy that I gave is it's a washed up drunk, a war hero, seen many battles, and they need him to come back, sober up for one last hoorah. And it's we're right now at the scene in the movie where he's made the realization that, you know, he's got to get his life together. There's people counting on him, and he's got to be that leader once again. You know, he faded back into obscurity, living in the woods by himself, but somebody kidnapped his wife, and he's got to go get the bad guys again. And, you know, now we get a montage where he's going to be working out and getting his shot back and practicing and getting ready to go. And so that's where we're at. And so now do we get the heroic return? Because, as we know, we want this name to be strong if the confidence is going to seep out into all altcoins. So QNT is another lead bull we've been looking at, just because we never even saw weekly consolidation. I talked about how, you know, it was a great sign to have previous resistance act as support. We had a double top that we broke above, daily EMA 12, full bull control guide, daily uptrend, full bull control guide. But we have a key resistance zone back here. Look at all those tops from the way down and look at where we are right now. So again, that's pretty much like ETH battling 28 to 28.50. Same thing with QNT battling 122 to 124. So still there. Got to turn that into support. And again, same thing. It was a very significant, we don't have a ton of price history here, but back here it was an important support that held. We lost it. Resistance, resistance, resistance. And now still battling that resistance. As far as other altcoins, not a ton of names are standing out to me on the bull side in terms of being a glaring bull. But again, we want the kind of environment where we get enough confidence with the dominance chart dropping and with ETH bulls leading the way, where it's just everything's going up. I want to look on this watch list and I want to see 11 names with double-digit percent gains over 10% on a day. That's going to happen at some point, and that will be when there's a big dominance drop with a big red daily candle, and we're keeping an eye out for it. Still, gotta see the dominance chart. Again, it all boils back to this. Gotta lose the weekly higher lows. You have to. Otherwise, BTC is still king. Checking in on Bitcoin short term, then I'll start reading the chat room. So just chopping around, again, trying to hold 4-hour EMA 12. Bulls, if we do see further consolidation, bulls ideally want to hold the back test of the 106,000 resistance zone. We had all these tops. Remember, 106 was key support, support, support. Resistance, 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 resistance. If we see clear daily consolidation, you want that daily higher low to hold the back test of 106. Thanks for the likes and shares. What are we talking about? A couple months ago, back when Bitcoin was 105K, nice memory, I did sell at 105K. I sold 20% of my long-term no-touch position. What price did I rebuy? I didn't rebuy Bitcoin. I bought MSTY for the monthly high or low. I'm gonna forget exact numbers, but I bought it somewhere around here in the upper teens, and I sold it somewhere up there. Pretty much when we lost that little higher low. So we'll just say for round number sake, let's say 18 to, we'll just say 10%. So I got a 10% gain on that position, and then I exited it. And again, that's part of the reason why I wanted to add back on weekly higher lows. So with that 10% gain, what does that mean? Well, that means Bitcoin at 115,000 would be the equivalent of the same thing. Does that make sense? So I have less long-term no-touch Bitcoin. I'm not adding back any long-term no-touch position until it's bear market cycle weekly oversold RSI. That's when I, fear is when I will establish re-entering long-term positions. In the meantime, it's just going to be swing trading. Because again, if you look at there are many reasons why I took that profit. Number one, it's up massively over the last 8 years, obviously. But number two, Trump launching his own coin was definitely a factor. And number three, if you look at the Bitcoin 6-month chart, every bull market ever, the most significant bull market, has been 5 green 6-month candles. And this 6-month candle has 20 days left to go. Does that mean we can't see 7 green 6-month candles? No, it absolutely does not. But it means that if I want to be protective of some gains, and if I want to sell into strength, I can trim 20% of my position while we are on our 5th green candle. Again, every single bull market ever, it's 5 to 6. I might be getting this wrong. Hold on. It's 4 to 5. 4 to 5 green candles. 2016 to 2017 was 5 green 6-month candles. 2021 was 4 green 6-month candles. Again, it's very rudimentary. It's not some crack in the code. It's just, hey, I want to be scaling out into euphoria. We are on the 5th 6-month green candle. We have never seen 6 in a row. I should probably take a little bit of profit. And again, I'm not expecting to nail tops. Ideally, I want to scale out on the way up. And if you were following along in 2017 when I first got into crypto, I was not nailing the top. We ran an extra maybe $5,000 from where I started to get real cautious, just because we went exponential straight up very quickly towards the end there. But as I was scaling out on the way up, again, maybe my average exit was, even if it was 12,000, and then we dip back down to the 3s, that's a great exit. So I do not expect to nail a top. I expect to scale out into euphoria. If we see another leg up to 135,000, I may trim a little more. Sell another 20%. Sell another 20% at 155,000. I don't know. But I'm not going to add those back. I will be swing trading positions with a much shorter term mindset as my active management from here on out. So far it's working, just in the sense that, Bitcoin is 4% higher than where I sold it, a little bit less, but, I grabbed 10%, a little more than 10% on that MSTY position, comparable size. Thanks, Dan K. Torn between purchasing entries and exits or crypto? I would say entries and exits. It's a more complete course, and the best part is it can be applied to anything, stocks, crypto, whatever. Entries and exits. I'm not invested in any altcoins besides, okay. So I have tiny positions comparatively from 2017 or whenever it was, from long ago. I do have a tiny bit of Litecoin and I do have a tiny bit of Link. Comparatively, both of those combined, Litecoin and Link, are 5% of my Bitcoin holdings. And my Bitcoin and ETH holdings right now are fairly similar size. So on the whole, 2.5%, it's a nothing. I don't even care or look at them. I'll sell them eventually, but that was just, keeping a tiny position that is risk-free. Those go to zero, and I'm ahead on those names. But yeah, for the main part, why am I not investing in altcoins? You've heard me say it plenty of times, but the probabilities that you pick an altcoin that's going to be a long-term winner are less than 1%. The probabilities that you pick an altcoin that's going to be a long-term winner are less than 1%. It is not in your favor to try and do that. In my opinion, all altcoins should be treated as flashing number. I mean, look at how the crypto space has developed over the last 8 years. In 2017, we thought crypto was going to permeate culture and be used on a daily basis by people for whatever applications. Now we're clearly realizing that was maybe a little bit too pie in the sky because it hasn't even come close to happening that way. And so the market has, and the traders and the participants of the market have just begun to more and more accept. And it's gotten to the extremes where it's just for extracting capital. And that's why, in my opinion, we do not have an altcoin bull run going on right now, because the market has smartened up to know that it's just for extracting capital. Again, back in 2017, people were buying and holding for the future possibilities and the investments. And now we know that you've got less than a 1% chance of that working out. So it's just a constant capital extraction game. And when everybody catches on that it's a constant capital extraction game, they're much quicker to take profits, and the moves are not anywhere comparable to what they were in the past. What has to happen in altcoins for things to change is one project needs to permeate culture the way that AI has. A year ago, 2 years ago, whatever it was, I forget the timeline, nobody was using AI for search and for just using AI. And then it seemed like overnight, 2-month time, massive saturation of a huge wave of people incorporating using AI for their Google searches. And that is the kind of adoption that you need in an altcoin project for people to say, oh, wait, there is massive opportunity here. This name does have a future potential and is going to run 5,000+% and hold those gains. We don't have that. That's what has to happen for altcoin gains to stick. Wow, a vote for ETH over ETH. I thought it would be all ETHs because everybody else, right? I'm bucking the trend. All those other dumb influencers with their ETH. Mel Gibson, I didn't know what that was referencing because, yeah, Last Samurai, Mel Gibson and the Patriot type of deal. Inverse head and shoulders on Bitcoin. I don't know what time frame. You gotta let me know the time frame so I can see exactly what you're looking at. Glad to help, Chris. Chris appreciates the teaching about money rotation. Big help. Didn't understand it until year 5. Probably me neither, year 5. That sounds about right. I said price has to go over 120K and it just reached it. No, we didn't. I'm confused by that comment. Weekly oversold can lead to monthly oversold. What do I do in the situation if I bought weekly oversold for a long? Don't care at all. Anytime I buy a long-term position, again, it's day trading, swing trading, investing. They are all very different things. For me, a long-term position is investing. Long-term no touch for me means investing. So as soon as I buy, I'm accepting zero. And I'm just looking to buy during fear. And maybe Bitcoin goes to zero. And fortunately, at that point, if it goes to zero, I will only be giving back a fraction of profit from the other cycles along the way over the last 8 years. But I won't care at all. I'll have a dollar amount of what I'm willing to rebuy. And I will do so during fear. I'll scale in. And then that's it. I wait for the next wave of euphoria, if that hopefully comes back again, as it always has. But that's my game. Again, we'll be talking about that plenty if that happens. We'll talk about that in months, a year, whatever, whenever. But not even, obviously not even on the table. Can alts run while Bitcoin pulls back after a run, or it has to go sideways? I mean, I won't say they can't. Just again, looking back historically at how it happens. If Bitcoin is pulling back, it puts downward pressure on alts. So once that downward pressure on Bitcoin subsides and it's just sideways, it's almost like you need fear to be alleviated. If Bitcoin's dropping, there's a little bit of fear, and you're a little bit more cautious. If there's a support level and you're just trading sideways above it, fear gets alleviated and you're willing to put capital in other places. So I won't say it's impossible, but it's just not common or likely. What are my basic rules for exiting a swing trade? Scaling out. I exit an initial. We have a YouTube video talking about this. Google chart guys, scale out. It's only like 5 minutes long. I exit an initial position into a short-term target. Let's say I'm playing hourly oversold. I'll sell an initial position into maybe a 15-minute EMA 12 on an initial bounce. That then puts my cost basis right down near the low, ideally below it. My second scale out is at a higher up target, and my last scale out will be a runner, and I only exit that once the opposing direction, in this example the bears, prove to me that I should be exiting. Meaning, I'm not going to exit if we're just sitting through healthy hourly consolidation, but if we confirm an hourly downtrend, that's bears proving something, maybe that makes me exit my runner position. Many alts from 2016-17 unlisted today. Yeah, that's going to be 99%. Again, I have a unique history in my trading in the crypto world, in the sense that I got my chops 4 to 5 years of trading penny stocks, and the parallels between penny stocks and altcoins are numerous, very significant. And the reason that I kept my crypto gains in 2017 is because I did all the pump and dumps in penny stocks, and I learned the lessons, and I learned that you better lock in that euphoria profit because they will disappear and you will give it all back. So I credit my experience in penny stocks massively with helping me be a good crypto trader during these massive cycles. At no point in crypto have I ever lost my head in terms of trying to shoot the moon or we're never going to go back down or whatever. I've always been the voice of lock in your profit. These are just imaginary numbers until you hit that sell button. I don't know anything about Strike. Probably not enough. No. It's a bear. I don't know. Probably has a bunch of supply. That looks like a penny stock chart to me. I know it's in the Korean won, but Solana. So Sol is trying for the weekly higher low, like most things. We went straight up off the lows, weekly stair step. We know the weekly trend change has to happen eventually, and so this is the attempt. So my mindset, when I talk about that swing trading, where this has to be the daily higher low or I'm wrong, if I'm looking long on Sol, my mindset is 140 needs to be the weekly higher low or I'm wrong. If that's the weekly higher low, it's possible we shape up the weekly trend change to keep this move going. If you lose 140 from here, you've now given back the majority of the move, and now you've got a lot of space for a weekly lower high next bounce. So if you're a bull on Sol, you really want 140 to be that low. This is a potential daily inverse head and shoulders, and a lot of altcoins still have the potential for daily inverse head and shoulders. Again, we were watching Bitcoin for that possibility, but it just ran straight up and didn't do that. But because a bunch of altcoins are weaker, they still have that possibility in play. So if we cannot break 164, you got to set that daily higher low, confirm the daily inverse head and shoulders to set the weekly higher low. And then we'll be looking back up at the bounce high. Yep. Altcoins saturated, worse than penny stocks everywhere. Close for sure. Probably more numerous. And just the speed at the growth of the number of them versus, I mean, there are career white collar criminals in penny stocks. You can watch them. If you do, I used to do this when I, 13 years ago. Research a CEO of a penny stock that's diluting into the ground, and you can see, oh, this was the CEO of this prior penny stock, and they did the exact same thing. They just jump from one to the other. They take their $100,000, $150,000 salary by diluting shares, and they just do it over and over. It's white collar crime that flies very under the radar because the SEC can't do anything with penny stocks. They can't do anything. They're struggling to do anything with the NASDAQ and New York Stock Exchange stocks. It's the Wild West. Round trip millions. Yeah, see, that's the thing. I round tripped $40,000, which was my massive penny stock lesson that shaped my life from there on out. And if I did not do that, I would have round tripped $1 million in 2017. So that's a pretty good trade-off. I'd much rather do it with a little bit of capital, so when the real capital's on the line, I've already had the lesson. Thanks for the like, Don. Probability for ETH BTC to get back to 08. I don't even know where we're at. 2. Let's go to monthly. 08. I don't think that's happening anytime soon. I think at best, what you're looking for here is an equilibrium where, we have this low, which is trying to hold. And I think at best, you're looking for something like that. I think this is where we do something like this for a long time. Just like the dominance chart, looking for the inverse. I think dominance chart does something like this. That's a lot of guessing, obviously. But if I had to, that would be my guess. Riot back towards high of the day. 15-minute tightening up. All right, I gotta wrap this up. What do I think about the day trading strategy of adding to a winner as it breaks a key level as opposed to taking profits quickly? There's definitely, I love the style that I've adapted with taking profits quickly. But again, it's a more conservative style. I'm not going to be, leveling up my account by doing that, but I'm going to be base hits, just grinding base hits, because when I'm wrong, I'm stopping out break even or tiny loss. Versus when I'm wrong, if I'm trying to, again, risk and reward are so significantly related where you will not, someone shows me I'm up 2,000% over the last year. And I just know that the way that they are trading is opening the door for them to give back half of their account or blow it up. You can't possibly get those thousands of percent gains without exposing yourself to significant risk. That's the way the game goes. And so by limiting my risk so much, I am limiting my reward, but again, it's just where I'm at in my career where I'm not trying to level up my account. Again, I've got the cake. My mindset, which is very different from a lot of traders, is I have won the game. I've got my cake, and every year I'm just adding some icing on the cake. The game is won. My number one priority is do not give back what you have extracted from the market over the last 15 years. So it's a very different mindset from a trader who's saying, okay, making millions is great, but I want to make tens of millions. I will never have that mindset. I've got a friend that I've been in the crypto game with for 8 years, and we have such different mindsets. And that's exactly what our mindsets are and how we're separated. And it's fascinating to observe each other in that way. But I am looking to do it more with swing trading. If I'm up, I did it with silver. And it's very difficult for me to do it. But I've had a silver position for months. And during this consolidation here, I added more junior miners. And that was a good decision. We got another leg up. So I'm working on it with my swing trading when I already have a significant profit cushion adding to winners. But I doubt I will do it with day trading. That's a good question. How do you tell healthy consolidation? You want to watch chart guys. Go to our website. We have a lot of content and our search feature works, and do fibs. Fibonacci's. Great, right on cue. Fibonacci. And watch that video. That answers that question. Bull flag or equilibrium. And spell Fibonacci correctly. Apparently I've spelled it wrong in the past. How to trade Fibonacci retracements. We'll answer that question. All right, just because I did the wrong strike, we'll do this again. I don't know how to find it in this mess. CoinGecko. I don't know. I'm sorry. Dominance chart is not a bear flag on the weekly. Gold to Bitcoin rotating, not a ton. I'm not seeing. Gold is sideways. So what happened? Gold went sideways, and look at what silver did. It's just, I love it because the lessons that we learn in trading are so applicable to whatever market, whatever sector, which is why I try and get everybody, hey, you trade crypto, go to stocks. Hey, you trade stocks, go to crypto. You want to be able to branch out with everything. The rotation from gold to silver, while gold went sideways, crypto markets helped me be ready for that. So silver is up 10% in the last 6 trading days or whatever, while gold went sideways. Gold led, gold goes sideways, miners and silver get a leg up as laggards. exact same as Bitcoin altcoins. It's so cool. I don't use a journal software. I don't journal anymore. That's one of the things I don't like to admit to people. But you get to a point, you know, if I started to really struggle for a prolonged period of time, I would start journaling and figuring out what is wrong. But when you've done it for so long, so many hours, so many trades, it's just, you don't need it, is really what it all boils down to. When you're starting out, absolutely you should do it. Helps you find your edge, helps you focus on your mistakes and not repeat them. But again, once you've done thousands and thousands of trades over a decade plus, it's not, you know, you could just focus on reviewing any losing trades that were meaningful, which, you know, may happen once every few weeks. But no, I don't use any journaling software. All right, I gotta run. Appreciate you all watching and the likes and the shares and all that. Keep an eye on ETH. We're at the edge of our seat. Bitcoin, are we about to see daily consolidation? Or do we just set a 12-hour high or low and leave patient bulls in the dust again? 4-hour EMA 12 is trying to hold still. We're at again, watch the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ within the next week is either going to see a clear leg up, and then we're going to all be talking about all-time highs in the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, or it's going to confirm a rising wedge into potential weekly consolidation. That's going to happen soon. It's priming up right now. Everything that I'm seeing has me staying on Team Bull in the broader market. So we'll see. Thanks again. Do good things. Sorry about strike.